Good evening, distinguished guests, dignitaries, and esteemed participants. I am Subhas Kumar Bodha, Director Urban Transport from Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. On the behalf of Ministry, I am privileged and honored to welcome you all at the 18th Urban Mobility India Conference Exhibition 2025. This roundtable session is quick response for disaster management in urban transport system. The session is being graciously chaired by the Dr. Surendra Kumar Bhagde, Director General, National Center for Good Governance. Dr. Surendra Kumar Bhagde has spent more than 32 years in the Indian Administrative Service. In his extensive career, he has promoted domestic and foreign direct investment in the various sectors in the state of Maharashtra and was involved in the formulation of state policies for information technology and biotechnology sector during his stint at Maharashtra Industrial Development Corporation. Dr. Bhagde has held the post of Additional Secretary in the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Government of India. Guiding the discussion as a moderator, Mr. Jaideep, OSD, Urban Transport, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. He belongs to Indian Railway Service of Electrical Engineers. Currently, he is working as a officer on special duty Urban Transport, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs since November 2019. Prior to joining the MAHUA, he has worked on several important assignments in the Indian Railway related with the train operation, maintenance of rolling stock and traction distribution system, rolling stock and manufacturing IT system, etc. To begin the session, I am honored to request the moderator, Mr. Jaideep, to graciously guide the proceeding of the session. Sir.
Good evening. We are running late and we are starting this important session, and it is chaired by Mr. Surendra Kumar Bhagde, and we will be little bit shorter in this format, and we want to finish it within 20-25 minutes. So I will not take much of time. I will ask chair of the session to set the tone of the plenary session.
Thank you, Jaideep ji, for inviting me to be chairing this session. It's always a pleasure to be here. I think this session is very important, quick response for disaster management in urban transport system. And we have limited time. We have 6 speakers. And even if you give like 3 minutes, there will be 18 minutes. And I think we need to give 1 or 2 questions, time for few questions. So what I will do, I think everybody knows that public transport system has to function very efficiently during disaster time. You can't say that during disaster, I will not function. I remember, I see Salabh Goyal ji, one of the biggest health disaster we have seen is COVID-19. And when COVID-19 struck, the most reliable public transport system in Mumbai, local trains, had to stop. And what came in its place is buses. And how we managed the system, which was totally unexpected. Similarly, we see floods, we see heat waves striking cities, we see unexpected crowds sometime. So I think there are many experts on this panel. I would request them to, give us ideas how this disaster response for urban transport should be made integral part of it, both in terms of planning, in terms of technology, and in terms of actually meeting the requirement. Now, when there are floods, public transport system cannot say that I will not function. You have to function. So I think what it needs to be done, how do we plan for those exigencies? How do we make sure that some minimum level of public transport functions and emergency services are not disturbed? So I think those are very critical questions. Would request speakers to focus on what few points which different entities cutting across different systems of public transport, be it metro, be it like your three-wheelers, last mile connectivity system, or your buses, what they need to do to ensure seamless operation during extreme events which are going to be more common in future. Thank you.
Thanks, Bakle Saab, for setting the tone. And I would like to first pose question to the speaker on my right side, Ms. Susha Rao, former team lead UNDP. This is regarding restoration, funding for restoration work. That funds are required for restoration work whenever any disaster happens. And especially if the impact is large, the fund requirement becomes more pronounced. You have worked in UNDP in Afghanistan and Fiji. You have also experience of assessing and funding projects like Kochi Metro, Water Metro, and Nagpur Metro Phase 1 from KFW site. What are the various mechanisms which could be put in place to achieve disaster resilience and help to mobilize resources at the time of disaster?
Thank you very much. And since we know that the session is getting late, so I'll be very quick. Typically, every disaster, as we know, it not only brings physical destruction, but a huge financial burden. So when we talk about finance, I think funds that are required, which needs to be quickly accessed, and perhaps there has to be a predictable, it has to be in a predictable nature as well. So the disaster preparedness is also about preparedness for financial resources. So while I was in Afghanistan, when there was the flash floods and earthquakes happened, there was a trust fund which was set up. It was called as the Special Trust Fund for Afghanistan, and that fund was used to channel the funding for emergency grants, for livelihood restoration, and also for infrastructure repairs. So in fact, this became a faster disbursement modality, and this allowed rapid construction of roads, clinics, and other infrastructure that was restored within months. Again, in Fiji, there was Fiji Resilience Finance Facility was set up. This also looks at insurance instruments, contingency financing, and also post-disaster needs assessment. So again, the key lesson is financial pre-planning determines in terms of how quickly people can return to normalcy. For Kochi Water Metro and Nagpur, I think there were a number of measures that were already integrated into the design. I don't want to go into detail, but again, some of these aspects of resilience, for example, having elevated and flood-proofed solar-powered terminals and piers in Kochi Metro, and also in Nagpur, there were also energy-efficient rolling stock and other measures that actually acted as more resilient measures for the metro. So again, these were designed into the financial model itself. So, so there are, of course, mechanisms where we can really look at, strengthening the disaster resilience. There are contingency and emergency response funds, and I think these funds, we all know, even in India, we have the National Disaster Response Fund. There is insurance and catastrophe bonds. Recently, the Jamaica experience, I think you all must have followed there, the catastrophe bonds is really helping in quick payout. In Fiji, in Pacific, there is a Pacific Catastrophe Risk Assessment and Financing Initiative. This also allows quick payouts based on trigger events. So in a way, these are tools that actually convert future risk into predictable financial instruments. And there is, of course, the climate finance, the blended finance instruments, where partners like ADB and World Bank, they try to blend the concessional loans with grants to support climate resilient infrastructure. So there is a Green Climate Fund, which you are aware. So again, coming back to the main point is we need to move from readiness, reaction to readiness. So I think that's the most important element of preparedness, and there should be a shift in mindset. As we know that every dollar invested in resilience saves about $4 to $7. So clearly resilience is the funding for resilience should take this into account. Finally, there are three things that I want to just highlight in terms of what can be done before the next disaster hits. One is having a financial instrument that can release funds fast, and having a project pipeline of resilient investments that can be scaled up. And finally, a coordination mechanism that connects donors, private sector finance, and government agencies under one unified resilience framework. So I'll stop here, but I think we also, there's one other instrument which I just wanted to mention, the Loss and Damage Fund, which is coming up in the COP. 30, and we will see how those funds can also be accessed in terms of having greater resilience.
Thanks for sharing this information on your experience and how this funding can be provided in case of disaster, because this money should go quickly for the start of restoration work. Now I will request my next speaker, Mr. Luis Antonio Garcia from Mexico. My question is, Mexico City has experienced several significant urban transport disasters, with two of the most prominent being 2021 Metro Line 12 overpass collapse and a deadly 1975 metro train collision. More recently, a fatal train bus collision occurred outside the city in September 2025. Where did the city administration or agencies go wrong? Let's have your perspective on how can we plan better for avoiding disaster in urban transport with a specific reference to a sprawling city like Mexico. I want a quick response from your side.
Yes.
Please.
Yeah, thank you. You know, in Mexico, we have a lot of disasters. They are not only in transport, but also natural disasters, right? So always the response in Mexico has been it's after, and then we learn it needs to be on coordination. But precisely on those ones, on the disaster, on the metro line, the 12 line, and also the disasters in 1975, on the collision of the carriages, I think it's important to understand that there is no one to blame at the end of the day, because there is not a single individual or administration to blame, because what I believe at the end of the day, they are the result of a city operating under stress, under like a really a lot of stress. That is something that I call anxious cities, actually. It's like, just imagine like that city operating, you have a base, right? And you have a lot of stones. If you feel it, at some point it's gonna break. So in Mexico, that's what happens. Until we have the disaster or the problem is when they started like to try to create solutions. So at the end, it's the system itself that made those things to happen that they shouldn't happen, because we need to, or at least the room for improvement there. It needs to have. We need to learn how to do it before. We need to create or like fill these systemic gaps, and especially the not to be a reactive governance cycle. What it happens. They always react after, not before. So I think the pathway to learn from here and to try to avoid this, because it is at the end, it's very sad and it's very hurtful for Mexican society, because at the end of the day, you always know someone who used that line. Maybe you can lose a friend, you can lose a family. At the end of the day, we're talking about human losses. So I think, as I sort of mentioned, we need to be proactive and try to create this safety governance, right? So that means empower this independent technical oversight and technical always like reviews on the system. And also to, how do I say it, like the budgets, we need to lock them. Something that happens in Mexico, like there is an administration coming every 6 years, or if it's a local level, it's every 2 years. So you have, for example, a budget for, in this case, like transport system. So it's going to be only for those 3 years. But if the next cycle, the political cycle comes, or the next administration, they might decide to use that money for something else. So I think a good thing, like maybe we can start doing, is just to lock those maintenance budgets, so it can be for a lifetime and not only for the administration cycle. They need to be there available all the time. Yes, exactly. Like the budgets for for example, if I just take office in a city, right, and I have like this budget, supposedly from the last one, I might decide to use that budget for something else. So I decide how to use it. That's how it works in Mexico. They change, like if a new political party or a new mayor comes, they might use that money for something else, right? So we need to find a way to lock it, to always be there. Like you cannot touch that money because that money just goes for prevention, right? I think it was one of the main learnings as well. Also designing for well-being, I believe, not only efficiency. I know we need to be efficient. We need to go from point A to point B. That's thing, but when you are realizing that the way to go to work is uncomfortable, it's stressful, it's just not an inconvenience. I think it's a signal that the system is under strain. Something is happening there. So you need to take in consideration like this human perspective a lot, because why is it stressful for so many people? Even though, you know, like it can be rush hour and everything, but even if it's not, I'm a true believer that you need to take really in consideration the human perspective in all this. And also, I think we need to do integrating like metropolitan planning. So what I say with this, in Mexico, you can commute per day 8 hours, 4 hours to go from home to work, and probably like 3 or 4 from to your job to your home. 8 hours? Yeah, per day. People can spend 8 hours per day on public transportation. So we need to create like this, you need to diversify where the centers are. In a Mexico City, a city with more than 22 million people, it can be identified only like 4 clusters. Yeah, actually I will be closer. So they have like 4 clusters. Like more than 50% of the people, of the population in Mexico moves to these only 4 spots. So we need to diversify that. So you can just have more, polycentric perspective and how people move around. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Luis. And he has shared experience that there should be system in place while designing such system, and we have to see and monitor this system. The system will give signal before such mishap. Now I will go to the next speaker, Mr. Devender Gill, Executive Director, DMRC. He can also share similar experience. How is Delhi Metro ensuring that it is disaster resilient? Please share the major design aspects. What are the learnings and how these are affecting changes in the design over time to attain resilience? Devender, you should be very, very quick.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the question, sir. To answer your question about DMRC structures and network being disaster resilient, I will take you back to DMRC phase 1 when the network was being planned. And for those who are younger, I must share with them that at that point of time, there were very few codal practices which were providing the guidelines for creating a fire resistant or fire resistance structures. And DMRC phase 1 is a classical example of the partnership between an executing agency, that is the Metro Rail Corporation, and the statutory body, the Delhi Fire Service, to develop a system where we could implement the international standards. At that moment of time, NFPA 130 was a guideline document for designing underground buildings, underground stations especially. And presently, the Metro Rail Corporation has the advantage of National Building Code, Annexure J and K. All these decision came at a cost. It cost huge to the corporation, but it was a very conscious decision. And today, our underground stations and elevated stations are designed in such a way that you have a 4-minute and 6-minute evacuation time from platform. To achieve this, you have to take different measures of choosing the right kind of building material, to have the correct egress path, and then to look for providing tenable environment to the occupant of those stations. It definitely, underground stations are more challenging as compared to the underground ones. So elevated, you have little more time, but right from the selection of the material to design of the evacuation routes, and then the ventilation philosophy. How do you create the tenable environment for the people who are escaping out in case of a disaster? So these decisions were taken. Present Metro Rail corporations are lucky they have those National Building Code standards. Other thing was that the structures were also designed for Zone 4. So in case of an earthquake, which can anytime strike in Delhi NCR zone, the structures were designed to actually sustain that and provide that tenable environment. There are few more things like the rolling stock design and rolling stock manufacturing was also very consciously taken to reduce the flammable material, the combustible material, and also segregate majority of your high voltage electrical equipment in underbelly, which is away from your passenger area. So the idea was to provide maximum possible opportunity for the people who are in the system. Today, we boast of having 8.2 million passenger journey in a day, which happened in August.
You are stressing upon that once we go for designing, that it should have all the provisions of the codal provisions and national codes.
Yes.
And this you have followed, and
Yes, we have.
this is your main strength.
Yes, yes.
And your record is very good.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Now I come to Mr. Prashant Kumar Palani, Head Automotive, this Harita Technologies, Coimbatore. You also serve as a safety auditor for electric vehicle and battery manufacturing facilities and have served as the core member for safety gap assessments and protocol development as per international and national standards and regulations. Please share your experience in the gaps in safety, especially in the context of urban transport vehicles, and measures which can be taken to ensure safety of urban commuters. Please be quick, Mr. Prashant.
Thank you very much. So I'm Prashant Kumar Palani. So as based on my some of the safety audits that I have conducted across India, I was doing a lot of safety audits, and as part of our technical due diligence, I was also supporting the investors who are investing in the electric bus projects in India. As part of that, I was covering a lot of cities across India. And so I just want to highlight two aspects. One is the infrastructure side, gaps that I have identified. And there are few operational safety side gaps which I have identified across electric bus depots in India. So first, from an infrastructure side, you know very well, electric buses do operate with lithium-ion battery technologies. Unfortunately, the fire safety infrastructure that we see in the depots and in the buses seems to be mostly not compatible with the lithium-ion battery. So they are basically aligned with the existing or the previous battery technologies. And so that needs an upgradation, which is a common problem which I have witnessed in most of the projects. And second very important challenge is space. Especially when I was involved in cities like Mumbai, the space is provided for the depots, especially electric bus depots was very constrained. And in some of the depots, the diesel buses, CNG buses, and electric buses all working together, operating together, and managed together in the same depot facility in a very old and unsafe infrastructure, which is again, I believe, need to be looked at very carefully. Electric buses need very good infrastructure as a whole, especially in the areas of maintenance areas as well. And from a control rooms perspective, you know very well, most of the projects in the electric buses, these are all gross cost contract models, right? GCC models, wherein the OEMs or the private operators are taking the responsibility of controlling the operations. And I see there is a lack of enough amount of manpower in the operator side or the OEM side in managing these operations safely, especially during a disaster.
Palani, be quick.
Yeah. So especially during a disaster, I feel the manpower resources which are available in the operator side seems to be not sufficient. And very importantly, from a high voltage safety perspective, from a fire safety perspective, I see majority of the depots in India, electric bus depots in India, having gaps in this. But yes, with GIZ, the Ministry of Heavy Industries, last couple of years have done very good initiatives, like we have done program called Mastering Electric Bus Fire Safety, and I myself was a trainer in that program, and we trained almost 500 plus people of 3 different levels: transport commissioners, fire department officers, and fire safety officers. Even the ground team which is working, all the team members were trained by our GIZ and team, and this and our team as well. So definitely there are steps taken by government, but I urge all the state governments also to take necessary steps and ensure that all the safety gaps are identified and necessary measures are taken, and regular safety audits are being conducted in all these depots. So that's my input.
Important points you have suggested, that power chargers and space and mixed use of mixed maintenance in the depot. You have covered important topics. Now I come to Mr. Matthijs Merforth, Transport Economist and Project Manager, GIZ. Extreme weather, geophysical events, pandemic and conflicts in particular have caused significant loss of life and economic productivity. The impact have been especially damaging to the poorest and most vulnerable members of society. The effects of climate change are expected to increase disaster and emergency risk over the next few decades. You may like to share experience in the European context, how countries have built up disaster resilient transport infrastructure. These could include real-time coordination models, transport system audits, etc. Mr. Matthijs.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Jaideep. It's an honor to speak here at the UMI conference. Yeah, let me start with 2 perspectives. The one is like planning and technical design of infrastructure. And we must understand that resilience begins long before actually a disaster kicks in, in the way we plan, design, and maintain our transport systems. So there are, I think, 3 elements that belong to this, and this is the urban and spatial planning. So if we know what risk we are facing in the context of climate change and how vulnerable we are to flooding, for example, then we already have enough data to say, okay, where do we position critical infrastructure such as e-bus depots, Then it comes the next step with technical norms and guidelines. So there we say, okay, how do we structure buildings that they can resist like geological impacts like earthquakes and so on, And then we come even to the micro level at the streets and urban space level. So here we can include nature-based solutions that help us to infiltrate water, We have trees that kind of improve the microclimate and that help our cities and our population to withstand heat waves in an easier way, So this is the one path, and I think over the last decade at least, we have gathered a lot of experience in Europe and Germany. I've been working in Mexico and have been witnessing that Mexico is taking great advances in including nature-based solutions in their urban spaces. So that helps already in the part of the prevention and increases our resilience. But now coming to the second part, which is also in the title of the session. So how do we respond and how do we actually manage disasters? Yeah? And we can take the example of the corona pandemics. So at the beginning, we did not really understand what that crisis is, and we did not understand what impact it will have. Yeah? So after a couple of months, we had a dramatic supply chain crisis on the whole globe. Yeah? And that also can impact our transport systems directly. So when we have a military conflict, a war, an economic crisis, it might develop towards an energy crisis. We might not be able to import fossil fuel anymore, or the prices might just peak. And so this we cannot necessarily, like transport operators, cities might not necessarily be able to influence that. But we can strengthen our critical processes, and which are like kind of communication channels, it's our procurement structures, it's also our organizational itself. Yeah, and here allow me to share one experience just from few days before the UMI conference. We convened experts, decision makers from metro and bus operators all over India, and we discussed this matter. So like how resilient are their systems, and yeah, it became very evident that kind of dealing with all the small incidents and emergencies is already their daily business. We have fire safety trainings for drivers and depots in place. Yeah, this is already helps to kind of prevent small emergencies turning into larger crises. But we also identified several points where we need to work on for the future. These are, for example, that it might be a very good first step at the level of every operator in every city to assess the actual risks and the threats and understand the impact they might have on their critical processes. And from there, you can develop business continuity plans that help you in different scenarios of crisis to quickly reestablish your services. Yeah. So, and also this includes obviously like simulation exercises and emergencies drills that include not only transport operators, but the police, fire brigades, technical relief agencies, medical services. So this is like, yeah, already more, it goes beyond the transport sector. And allow me to share one example from Germany. So, and I would say here, yeah, first of all, it's not only about technology or organization, yeah, it's also about people and institutions. So in Germany, we really deeply root civil protection in our societies. Do you think that having 35,000 firefighters in a country of 80 million is a lot? I don't think so. So with this, we might not be able to deal with all the incidents, but we actually have over 1 million voluntary firefighters in Germany, yeah? It like kind of, there is a fire brigade in like every small town, yeah? And that goes well beyond, yeah? So this strong base of civic engagement helps us to mobilize help very quickly, yeah? Even for large-scale disasters. So on that side, it shows that actually resilience is a shared responsibility, not only by the government or by the transport operators or by the authorities, but also by the whole society, yeah? And here, yeah, allow me also to quote my colleague Louis, which also supported the this workshop, and he said two things which stuck with me, and it was resilience is human before it is technical. Yeah, this is kind of trust between the society, trust of the people with the government, with the authorities, with their neighbors, with their communities, and it's a second thing, and this means if systems fail, behavior becomes the system. Yeah. And this can have two effects. The one thing is like panicking, fear, and egoism, and the other one can be solidarity, creativity, flexibility, and cooperation, which allows us actually to withstand any sorts of crisis. Yeah? And just allow me to conclude by, yeah, for all those that are interested in the topic, because it's super exciting and I could speak hours with you about that topic, we just recently also published a publication which is called Crisis Management in Urban Transport Systems. So if you Google that, you will find it, and it will link you to the websites of TUMI and Changing Transport, to the Knowledge Hub where we store most of our publications. So thank you.
Thanks, Matthias, and for sharing this in European context, what is your experience and the best practices and we will be definitely looking for such practices in our existing transport system. Now I come to the last speaker, Mr. Praveen Goyal, CEO, Dushman RRTS. You have experience of working in 5 metro system in India as well as water metro in Kochi. Please share your insights into safety management of the urban transport systems. Praveen.
So as we all know that safety management system is a very integral part and starts from the day one, starts from construction. Basically, we can divide the safety into 2 or 3 parts, sub-parts, just for the purpose of convenience. One is HSE, which is basically the during construction and also covers some portion of occupational hazards for the O&M personnel. Generally, we are all following ISO 45001. Most of the clauses have been standardized and they are all a part of the contract in which the contractor as well as the client and the general consultants all put together make sure that the safety during the construction is respected and done. Thereafter, if we consider the passenger safety, which we sometimes also refer as system safety, that is covered under mainly, the regulatory framework under which it is covered will be Metro O&M Act 2002. And based on that, we have general rules, and then we also have various rules for opening. CMRS is the authority which permits opening of the metro section when he is satisfied that all the required safety provisions have been met with. But CMRS, though he is invited to in the end, but there is a process which is laid down, which CMRS looks into and ensures, which starts much earlier. So first of all, we have a RDSO manual, which has specifications especially related to safety, which have to be ensured, and the CMRS also checks that that has been done. And as already mentioned, that the fire authorities also, approval is also required. And similarly, various other approvals are required from various authorities to ensure that all the safety requirements are met in the project. Apart from that, it's a practice that ISA safety certificate is obtained for signaling in some cases, and in some metros it is also being used to get safety certificate also for various other subsystems such as rolling stock or E&M, etc. So all this put together, I think there is a very robust regulatory framework as well as the requirement which has been spelled out, and which most or almost, I don't think there is a single metro which is not following it. All the metros in India are following it, and it is resulting in a very good and a a very safe urban system. Similarly, I had an experience in Kochi Metro when we were working for the water metro. We had a safety system or a regulatory safety system which was not at that point of time tailored for the kind of system that we were envisaging, and hence we had a discussion with the state government. We got some provisions modified, strengthened in a way to make sure that the safety of the passengers is not compromised. So this, taking metros as an example, I would suggest that all the urban modes of transport should have a proper regulatory framework to ensure that all the passengers feel safe when they are making this journey. Thank you.
Thanks, Praveen, for telling about what are the safety regulations in the case of metro, and such regulations should be there in all modes of urban transport system. With permission of chair, it is not possible for us to take another round, so we can close it. It was just
So thank you very much for all the panelists. I think we had a spectrum of views from Mexico to from UNDP expert, from India, and we heard from GIZ. I think the point about EV transition and the safety standards for depot was is very important, and I think we need to evolve standards for that. So thank you once again for all the panelists. I think Mahua needs to work a lot on getting these safety standards implemented across different part of the public transport system. Thank you very much. Yeah, 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 yeah. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for concluding the session, and thank you for the coordinating the session so smoothly and make it lively. Now I request Honorable Chair, sir, to present a memento all speakers and followed by the moderators. Luis Antonio Ramirez Gracia, please receive memento as a token of appreciation. Mr. Matthias Marfurt, Mr. Prashant Kumar Palani, Mr. Devendra Gill, Mrs. Usha Rao, Mr. Praveen Goyal, now I request Honorable Chair to present a memento to moderator. Honorable Chair to Thank you, sir. I would like to request to M. Ramchandran, former Secretary, MOUD Government of India, to kindly come up on the stage to present a memento to our Honorable Chair, sir. Thank you, sir. On the behalf of Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, we wish to express heartfelt gratitude to all the dignitaries, speakers, and participants for their valuable contribution in making the session success. Thank you all. Now I request to all to please join dinner, and Honorable CM sir will join dinner with us. Thank you.